The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in August 1878, delivered by a man whose eyes would not meet Lily Brennan's when he handed her the envelope sealed with red wax. And she knew before breaking it open that her life was about to shatter into pieces she might never gather back together again. Her father had been dead 3 months. The ranch he had built from nothing but determination and backbreaking work stretched across 200 acres of California territory just outside Coloma, where the gold rush had brought fortune seekers decades earlier and left behind those stubborn enough to carve out lives from the unforgiving land. Lily had been 22 when consumption took him, leaving her alone with 4 ranch hands, 60 head of cattle, and debts she had not known existed until the lawyers came calling. The letter was from Howard Garrison, who owned the bank in Coloma and half the businesses on Main Street. His handwriting was precise, each word carefully formed as if he had taken great pleasure in composing the message. She read it standing in the doorway of the house her father had built with his own hands, feeling the summer heat press against her skin while ice formed in her stomach. "Miss Brennan," the letter began, though she noted he did not use the respectful form her father's friends had always employed. "Your father's debts to my bank total $6,200, including accumulated interest. As you are aware, the mortgage on your property is 3 months in arrears. I have been patient out of respect for your recent loss, but my patience has limits. I am prepared to offer you a solution that would benefit us both. My son, Marcus, is in need of a wife, and you are in need of security. Accept his proposal of marriage, and I will forgive the entirety of your debt. The ranch will remain in your family after a fashion. You have until Friday to decide. Should you refuse, I will have no choice but to foreclose. The property will be auctioned the following Monday. I trust you will make the sensible choice. Regards, Howard Garrison." Lily read it 3 times, each reading making her hands shake harder until the paper rattled like leaves in a storm. She had known Marcus Garrison since childhood. He was 38 now, 16 years her senior, a man who looked at her the way men looked at horses they were considering purchasing. He had soft hands and a softer belly, and he laughed too loud at his own jokes while his father conducted business over whiskey in the back room of the saloon. She walked to the edge of the porch and looked out at the land her father had loved. The cattle grazed in the far pasture, red and brown shapes moving slowly through golden grass. The stable needed repairs. The fence line running east had posts that wanted replacing. There were 1,000 tasks that required money and strong backs, and she had precious little of either. "Miss Lily." The voice belonged to Thomas, the oldest of her ranch hands. He was 50-something, weathered as old leather, and had worked for her father for 15 years. "Something wrong?" She folded the letter carefully and slipped it into her apron pocket. "Nothing I can share just yet, Thomas. Is the south pasture fencing holding? For now." He pulled off his hat and wiped his forehead with a bandana that had once been blue but was now the color of dust. "But it won't last the winter. We need new posts and wire." "I know." She forced herself to smile. "We will manage." But she did not know how they would manage. She spent that evening going through her father's ledgers, confirming what she already understood. Even if she sold half the herd, she could not cover the debt. The ranch was worth more than $6,000, but Howard Garrison held the mortgage. He could set the auction price low, buy the property himself for a fraction of its value, and there was not a thing she could do about it. Wednesday morning she rode into Coloma. The town sat in a valley where the South Fork of the American River ran clear and cold, remnants of mining operations still visible in the scarred hillsides. The main street was wide and dusty, lined with wooden buildings that had weathered 25 years since the gold rush peak. She hitched her horse outside Miller's general store and went inside, needing supplies she could barely afford. Mrs. Miller greeted her with sympathy that felt genuine. "How are you managing, dear? Such a terrible thing, losing your father so young." "As well as can be expected." Lily set her list on the counter. "I need these items, please. Can you put them on my account?" Mrs. Miller's expression shifted, sympathy mixing with discomfort. "I am afraid I cannot, Miss Brennan. Mr. Garrison was here yesterday. He spoke to my husband. He said your credit is no longer good." The words hit like a physical blow. "I see. I am sorry. If it were up to me—" "It is fine, Mrs. Miller, thank you." Lily left the store with her cheeks burning and her eyes threatening tears she refused to shed on Main Street where anyone might see. She was untying her horse when she heard the voice behind her. "That is a damned shameful way to treat a woman." She turned. The man leaning against the post of the hardware store next door was someone she had never seen before, which meant he was new to Coloma or just passing through. He was tall, probably 6 feet or better, with dark hair that needed cutting and several days of stubble on his jaw. He wore dusty trail clothes and a gun belt that looked well used but not showy. His eyes were a startling blue-green, the color of the river in certain lights. "I beg your pardon," she said. "I was in there buying rope." He gestured toward the hardware store. "Heard Mrs. Miller. Garrison has no right to poison your credit around town before the debt is even due. You seem to know a great deal about my business for a stranger. Small town, people talk." He pushed away from the post and walked closer. "Name is Isaac Morrison. I am looking for work if you are hiring." "I am not. You need ranch hands. I heard that too, and I heard your situation with Garrison." He stopped a respectful distance away, not crowding her. "I have worked cattle from Texas to Montana. I can ride, rope, brand, and fix just about anything that breaks. I will work for food and a place to sleep until you can afford to pay me proper wages." Lily studied him. He looked capable, but she had learned young that appearances could deceive. "Why would you work without pay?" "Because I need a place to stay for a while, and because I do not like men who bully women." His expression was serious, direct. "You can check my references if you want. I worked for the Double R Ranch outside Sacramento last year. Foreman there was John Ridley. Send him a telegram. He will vouch for me." She should say no. Taking on another mouth to feed when she could barely feed the hands she had was foolish. But something in his manner, the straightforward way he spoke, made her hesitate. "I cannot pay you." "I heard that part. Do not care. Do we have an agreement?" Against her better judgment, she nodded. "You can start today. Follow me back to the ranch." Isaac Morrison collected his horse, a gray gelding that looked as trail-worn as its rider, and followed her out of Coloma. They rode in silence for most of the hour it took to reach her property. The land here rolled in gentle hills covered with grass that turned gold in summer, scattered oaks providing shade. In the distance, the Sierra Nevada mountains rose like a wall, still showing snow on the highest peaks even in August. "Pretty country," Isaac said as they approached the ranch buildings. "It is." She felt the familiar ache in her chest. "My father loved it. Heard he passed recent. I am sorry. Thank you." She did not want to discuss it further. "The bunkhouse is over there. You can take the empty bed at the far end. Thomas will show you around and put you to work." She dismounted and was heading toward the house when Isaac spoke again. "Miss Brennan, that letter in your pocket, is that from Garrison?" She froze, one hand moving instinctively to where the envelope still rested. "How did you saw you reading something earlier that upset you, then heard about your credit being cut off? Does not take a genius to figure out Garrison is pressuring you somehow." He swung down from his horse, holding the reins loosely. "If you need help, all you have to do is ask. You have known me for an hour. Long enough to see you are in a tight spot and too proud to admit it. There was no judgment in his voice, just statement of fact. I meant what I said. I do not like bullies. Lily wanted to tell him it was none of his business. She wanted to send him away and handle this herself. But she was so tired of being alone, of carrying every burden without help, that the words came out before she could stop them. He wants me to marry his son. If I refuse, he will foreclose and auction the ranch Monday. Isaac's jaw tightened. When do you have to answer? Friday. That is 2 days. He tied his horse to the rail. May I see the letter? She should refuse. Instead, she pulled it from her pocket and handed it over. Isaac read it slowly, his expression darkening with each line. When he finished, he looked at her with eyes that had gone cold as winter. This is extortion. It is legal. Legal and right are not always the same thing. He folded the letter and then, before she could react, he tore it in half. Then in half again, and again until it was confetti in his hands. There, that is what I think of Garrison's threat. What are you doing? Lily stared at the scattered pieces. That was paper, just paper. He let the pieces fall. Words on paper only have power if you let them. You are not marrying Marcus Garrison. You cannot just decide that. No, but you can. He stepped closer, and she saw something fierce in his expression, a determination that made her breath catch. How much time do you need to raise the money? More than I have. Selling half the herd would not cover it, and I need the cattle to keep the ranch running. There is no way, there is always a way. Isaac looked past her at the ranch buildings, the land stretching in all directions. I have some money saved, not 6,000, but enough to buy us time. I cannot take your money. Not asking you to. Asking you to borrow it, you can pay me back when you are able. He met her eyes. But more important, we need to figure out why Garrison is so eager to get this property. 6,000 is not a fortune. He could foreclose and sell it for more. But he is offering to forgive the debt if you marry his son. Why? Lily had not thought of it that way. I do not know. Then we need to find out, because there is something about this land he wants, and it is not just the property value. Thomas appeared from the barn, eyeing Isaac with curiosity. New hand. Isaac Morrison. He will be working with us. Lily's mind was racing now, turning over Isaac's question. Thomas, did my father ever mention anything unusual about the property? Anything that might make it especially valuable? Thomas scratched his jaw. Your pa did some prospecting back in the early days, like everyone around here. Never found much gold, but he claimed there was something about the northeast section. He had a map he kept in his desk, marked with X's and notes. Never showed me what it was about. The desk in his study. That would be the one. Lily hurried toward the house, Isaac following. Her father's study was a small room off the main living area, lined with shelves holding books on cattle ranching, agriculture, and California history. His desk sat beneath the window, covered with papers she had not had the heart to sort through since his death. She started pulling open drawers, searching. Isaac helped, careful not to disturb things unnecessarily. In the bottom drawer, hidden beneath a stack of old newspapers, they found a leather portfolio tied with string. Inside were maps. Not professional surveyor's maps, but hand-drawn sketches of the ranch property with notes in her father's handwriting. The northeast section was indeed marked with X's, and beside them were words that made Lily's pulse quicken. Silver trace promising but unconfirmed. Need a sayer. Keep quiet until certain. Silver, Isaac said softly. Garrison knows. How could he? My father kept it secret. Someone talked. Or Garrison had his own survey done on the sly. Isaac studied the map. If there is a silver deposit on your land, it would be worth a fortune, much more than $6,000. But it is unconfirmed. My father wrote that himself. Garrison does not care. Even the possibility is enough to make him want this property. Isaac set down the map. We need to confirm it ourselves. Get an assayer out here who is not in Garrison's pocket. That takes time and money. I know an assayer in Sacramento owes me a favor. I can ride out tonight, be back by Saturday with him. That is after Friday, after the deadline. Then we buy more time. Isaac looked at her steadily. Tomorrow you go into town and tell Garrison you will consider his offer but need time to think. Women are expected to be emotional about marriage proposals. Use that. Ask for a week. Play the part of the grieving daughter who needs time to make such a big decision. He will see through it. Maybe, but what can he do? If he pushes too hard, he looks like the villain. Right now, he is counting on you being desperate and alone. Show him you are neither. Isaac's expression softened slightly. You are not alone anymore, Miss Brennan. I know I am just a drifter you met this morning, but I am on your side, so let me help. Lily looked at this stranger who had torn up Garrison's threat and was now offering to ride through the night to Sacramento on her behalf. It was madness to trust him, but something in his eyes, in the set of his shoulders, made her want to believe. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. Isaac was silent for a moment. My mother lost her ranch after my father died. I was 15. Man like Garrison came in, called in debts, forced her to sell for pennies on the dollar. We ended up in a boarding house in town, and she cleaned other people's homes until it broke her spirit. His voice was rough with old pain. I swore I would never stand by and watch it happen again, so here I am, keeping that promise. I am sorry about your mother. She is at peace now, but I am not until I make things right where I can. He rolled up the maps carefully. So what do you say? Do we fight back? Lily thought of her father, of the life he had built here, of everything she stood to lose. Then she thought of Marcus Garrison's soft hands and his father's cold eyes, and she felt something harden inside her. We fight back. Good. Isaac smiled, and it transformed his face, making him look younger, less world-weary. Get some rest tonight. Tomorrow we start. That evening, Lily watched Isaac settle in with the other ranch hands. Thomas seemed to approve of him, which was a good sign. Thomas had an instinct about people that rarely steered wrong. She should have felt strange having a man she barely knew sleeping in her bunkhouse, making plans that involved her future. Instead, she felt something she had not experienced since her father died: hope. Thursday morning dawned clear and hot. Lily dressed in her best day dress, not the morning black she had been wearing, but a deep blue that brought out her eyes. If she was going to play the part of a woman considering marriage, she needed to look the part. Isaac was waiting by the barn, his horse already saddled. I will ride in with you, but stay out of sight. If Garrison thinks you have help, he might push harder. Agreed. She mounted her mare, a chestnut named Rosie that had been her father's gift on her 18th birthday. What if he refuses to give me more time? Then you cry. I am serious. Men like Garrison cannot stand tears. He will give in just to make you stop. I do not cry easily. Then pretend. You are fighting for your life here. Use every weapon you have. They rode into Coloma together, Isaac dropping back as they reached the edge of town. Lily continued alone to the bank, a brick building that stood 2 stories tall, the finest structure on Main Street. She tied Rosie outside and entered, her heart hammering. The interior was cool and dim, smelling of paper and ink. A clerk looked up from his desk. Miss Brennan, Mr. Garrison is expecting you. He is. She had not sent word she was coming. He left instructions. Go right in. Howard Garrison's office was in the back, windows overlooking an alley. He sat behind a massive oak desk, a man in his 60s with silver hair and a neatly trimmed beard. He smiled when she entered, but it did not reach his eyes. Miss Brennan, please sit. I hoped you would come to see me before the deadline. Lily sat, keeping her back straight and her hands folded in her lap. I received your letter. And what is your answer? I need more time to think. His smile thinned. I gave you until Friday, that is tomorrow. I understand, but this is my life we are discussing, my future. She let her voice shake slightly. It was not entirely pretense. Surely you can understand that such a decision cannot be made lightly. My dear girl, I am offering you security, a way to keep your father's legacy. Most women would be grateful. I am grateful, but I am also grieving. My father has been gone only 3 months. The thought of marrying so soon, she broke off, looking away as if fighting tears. Garrison shifted in his chair. I sympathize truly, but business cannot wait for sentiment. The debt is real, the deadline is real. 1 week. She turned back to him, letting her eyes shine with unshed tears. Give me 1 week to mourn properly and make peace with this decision. Surely that is not too much to ask. He studied her, his fingers drumming on the desk. You will accept Marcus's proposal. I will give you my answer in a week. A considered final answer. She leaned forward slightly. Mr. Garrison, I know you are a reasonable man, a man of faith. Would you truly force a grieving daughter into marriage without time to prepare her heart? It was manipulation, pure and simple, and she half expected him to see through it. But his expression softened just a fraction. 1 week. But Miss Brennan, if you refuse at the end of that week, I will have no choice but to proceed with the foreclosure. No more extensions. I understand. Thank you. She stood, offering her hand. He shook it, his palm dry and cool. My son will call on you Sunday afternoon. I expect you to receive him graciously. Of course. Lily left the office, her legs shaking. She had bought them time, but at a cost. Now Marcus Garrison expected a courtship. Isaac was waiting at the edge of town. How did it go? 1 week. But his son is calling on me Sunday. Then I need to leave now if I am going to get to Sacramento and back in time. He glanced toward town. Will you be all right here alone? I have Thomas and the others, and I am not helpless. Never said you were. Isaac gathered his reins. I will be back Saturday night or Sunday morning at the latest. Until then, be careful. Garrison plays dirty. I noticed. He started to ride away, then turned back. Miss Brennan, Lily, you did well in there. Your father would be proud. The words hit her unexpectedly hard. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Isaac touched his hat brim and rode east toward Sacramento at a pace that would eat up miles quickly. Lily returned to the ranch and threw herself into work. There was always something that needed doing. Horses to tend, tack to mend, accounts to balance, even though the numbers never looked any better no matter how many times she tallied them. Thomas and the other hands kept their distance, sensing her mood. Friday passed slowly. She half expected Garrison to send word that he had changed his mind about the extension, but no message came. Saturday dawned windy, clouds building over the mountains, promising a rare summer storm. Lily spent the morning in her father's study, reading through his journals, learning more about the man who had raised her. He had suspected the silver deposit for over a year, but had kept it quiet, wanting to be certain before making any claims. He had planned to hire an assayer in the fall after the harvest was done, and he had money to spare. But the consumption had come fast, stealing his strength before he could act. In his final entries, dated just a week before his death, he had written, I worry about Lily. She is strong but young. The ranch is too much for her alone, but I have no choice. If the silver is real, it will secure her future. If not, she still has the land and cattle. Either way, she will survive. She is more capable than she knows. Tears blurred the words. Lily set the journal aside and walked to the window, looking out at the land her father had loved. I am trying, Papa, she whispered. I am trying to be strong enough. The sound of hoofbeats made her turn. A rider was approaching fast, and for a moment her heart leaped thinking it was Isaac. But the silhouette was wrong. This rider was shorter, heavier. Marcus Garrison. She met him at the door. He dismounted with a grunt, sweating in the afternoon heat. "Miss Brennan, I hope I am not disturbing you. Your father said you would call on Sunday. I was eager to see you." He climbed the porch steps, standing too close. "May I come in?" She did not want him in her house, but refusing would be rude and might give Garrison Sr. an excuse to revoke the extension. "Of course. Would you like some water? It is a hot day. Whiskey, if you have it." She poured him whiskey from her father's dwindling supply and water for herself. They sat in the parlor, Marcus taking the best chair without being invited. He was not an ugly man, but there was a softness to him that spoke of a life without hardship. His hands were uncalloused, his clothes expensive but poorly suited to ranch country. "You have a nice property here," he said, gulping his whiskey. "Needs work, but it has potential. My father built it with his own hands." "Yes, well, that was then. Going forward, it will need a man's guidance." "A ranch is no place for a woman alone." Lily forced a smile. "Many women run ranches successfully. Perhaps, but not for long and not without suffering for it." He leaned back, studying her with an expression that made her skin crawl. "My father tells me you have asked for time to consider the marriage. I want you to know I am agreeable to the match. You are a handsome woman, and the ranch makes a fine addition to our holdings." "How romantic!" He missed the sarcasm entirely. "I am a practical man, Miss Brennan. Romance is for novels. Marriage is business. I will provide for you, give you a home, and you will give me children and manage the household. It is a fair arrangement, and the ranch will be absorbed into my father's holdings naturally. It makes no sense to run separate operations." "So I would lose it anyway." "Lose? No, no, you would simply share ownership. As my wife, what is yours would become mine. That is how marriage works." He drained his glass and stood. "I should go. Father wants me back before dark, but I will call again Sunday as planned. Perhaps we can take a walk, discuss our future more thoroughly." Lily walked him to the door, biting back the refusal that wanted to burst out. He mounted his horse and tipped his hat. "You are making the right choice, Miss Brennan. My father always gets what he wants one way or another. Better to benefit from it than stand in his way." He rode off, leaving Lily standing on the porch with her hands clenched into fists. The threat had been clear even through Marcus's oblivious delivery. Refuse, and the Garrisons would destroy her. She was still standing there when Thomas approached from the barn. "Saw Garrison's boy leaving. You all right, Miss Lily?" "No, but I will be." She looked at the older man. "Thomas, how much do you know about silver mining?" "Some." "Why, I think there might be silver on the northeast section. My father suspected it. That is why Garrison wants the property." Thomas whistled low. "That would explain a lot. Silver would make this place worth 10 times what Garrison is claiming. Isaac went to Sacramento to bring back an assayer. He should be back tonight or tomorrow morning." "Isaac?" Thomas nodded slowly. "That one is different, good different. He knows his way around cattle, but there is something else about him, something harder underneath. He has reason to be hard. Most men do this far west." Thomas adjusted his hat. "For what it is worth, I think you can trust him." "Not sure why, but I do." "I hope you are right." As if summoned by their conversation, the sound of multiple horses reached them. Lily turned to see 2 riders approaching in the fading light. Isaac, and another man she did not recognize riding a bay mare. Relief flooded through her. She had not realized how worried she had been until the tension left her shoulders. Isaac dismounted, looking exhausted but triumphant. "Miss Brennan, this is William Thorne, best assayer in California." Thorne was a compact man in his 40s with sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed spectacles. "Pleasure, madam. Morrison here rode like the devil was chasing him to fetch me, said it was urgent. It is, thank you for coming. She glanced at Isaac. Was the ride difficult? Nothing I could not handle. His eyes met hers and something passed between them, a connection she did not fully understand but felt in her bones. We should get started first thing tomorrow. Thorn needs daylight to work properly. Tomorrow is Sunday. Even better. Garrison will be at church in the morning. Gives us time to survey without interruption. They settled Thorn in the spare room in the house, the first guest Lily had hosted since her father's death. Over dinner, prepared by Thomas, who turned out to be a surprisingly competent cook, they discussed the plan. I will need to take rock samples from multiple locations in the northeast section, Thorn explained. Test them for silver content. If your father was right and there is a significant deposit, we will need to file a mining claim immediately. But I own the land, Lily said. Mineral rights are different from land rights out here. If Garrison knows about the silver, he might try to file a claim himself, say he discovered it. Gets messy. Better to establish your claim first with proof. Isaac leaned forward. How long before you can confirm whether there is really silver there? Depends. Few hours to collect samples, another few hours to run the tests. If I find something, I will know by tomorrow night. Garrison's son is calling tomorrow afternoon, Lily said. Then you will need to keep him distracted while we work, Isaac replied. Can you do that? She thought of Marcus Garrison's soft hands and condescending smile. I would rather face a rattlesnake, more venomous, about the same intelligence. Isaac grinned, and despite everything, Lily found herself smiling back. That night, she lay awake listening to the wind rattle her window. Everything depended on tomorrow. If there was no silver, she would have to make an impossible choice. Marry a man she did not love or lose everything. If there was silver, the fight with Garrison would become even more dangerous. She thought of Isaac, sleeping in the bunkhouse with the other hands. In 2 days, he had become an anchor point in the storm, someone she trusted without fully understanding why. He had no reason to help her beyond his own painful past, but he had ridden hard through the night, spent his own money, called in favors. For a woman he barely knew, that thought carried her into uneasy sleep. Sunday morning arrived bright and clear, yesterday's clouds having blown through without dropping rain. Lily dressed carefully, knowing Marcus would arrive by afternoon. Thomas and Isaac took Thorn out to the northeast section on horseback, carrying tools and empty saddlebags for rock samples. How long? Lily asked Isaac before they left. Couple of hours, maybe more. I will try to be back before Garrison arrives, but if not, you know what to do. Keep him occupied and away from the northeast section. Exactly. Isaac paused, then reached out and squeezed her hand briefly. You are braver than you think. His hand was warm and calloused, the grip firm. Then he released her and swung up into the saddle, and the 3 men rode out across the ranch land. Lily spent the next hours in an agony of waiting. She cleaned the house, changed her dress twice, tried to read and could not focus. Noon came and went. At 2 o'clock she saw Marcus Garrison riding up the road. She met him on the porch, forcing a smile. Mr. Garrison, how lovely to see you. Miss Brennan. He dismounted and tied his horse. I thought we might take that walk I mentioned. Of course. Shall we walk toward the south pasture? The wildflowers are beautiful this time of year. She deliberately steered him away from the northeast section, talking about nothing, asking questions about his interests that she did not care about. He spoke at length about his plans for expanding his father's business interests, about politics and town gossip, clearly enjoying the sound of his own voice. They had been walking for perhaps 30 minutes when Marcus suddenly stopped. Where are your ranch hands? I have not seen anyone working. Oh, they are out checking fence lines. Sunday is a light work day, but there is always something that needs attention. Lazy, more like. When we are married, I will see to it that they work proper hours. When we are married, Lily kept her voice light despite the anger rising in her chest. I have not accepted your proposal yet. A formality. You have no real choice and we both know it. He moved closer, his hand reaching for her waist. But I am not an unreasonable man. If you are sweet to me, I will be generous in return. She stepped back. Mr. Garrison, I appreciate your interest, but I would prefer to wait until matters are properly settled before what? A kiss. We are to be married, Lily. May I call you Lily? We should become better acquainted. He reached for her again, and this time she could not retreat without making a scene. His hand caught her arm, pulling her toward him. You are very pretty. Much prettier than I remembered. We will have handsome children. Mr. Garrison, please, Marcus. Call me Marcus. His face was too close, his breath smelling of the whiskey he had been drinking. Lily twisted, trying to pull away without being overtly rude. Where was Isaac? How long did it take to collect rock samples? I really think we should return to the house. In a moment. His other hand gripped her waist, pulling her against him. Just one kiss. What harm could it do? The harm of losing your teeth if you do not let her go. Marcus spun around, still holding Lily's arm. Isaac stood 20 feet away, his posture deceptively relaxed but his eyes hard as flint. He must have seen them from a distance and ridden over. Who are you? Marcus demanded, ranch hand. And you need to let Miss Brennan go, now. This is none of your concern, we are having a private conversation. Looks more like assault from where I stand. Isaac moved closer. The lady asked you to stop, I suggest you listen. Marcus finally released Lily's arm, his face reddening. You are speaking to your betters, Cowboy. I could have you horsewhipped for such insolence. You could try. Isaac's voice was flat, dangerous. Miss Brennan, are you all right? Yes. She rubbed her arm where Marcus's grip had been too tight. Thank you, Isaac. This is outrageous, Marcus sputtered. I will tell my father about this. You will never work in this county again. That would require me to care about your father's opinion. Isaac looked at Lily. I think your guest is ready to leave, Miss Brennan. She nodded, grateful for the excuse. Yes, Mr. Garrison, perhaps it would be best if you return to town. We can continue this conversation another time. We certainly will. Marcus stalked toward his horse, mounting with less grace than he probably intended. You are making a terrible mistake, Lily. My father does not tolerate disrespect, from you or your hired help. He spurred his horse and galloped away, leaving dust hanging in the air. Lily turned to Isaac. Thank you, he was becoming insistent. I saw, are you hurt? No, bruised pride more than anything. She looked toward the northeast section. Did you find anything? Thorne is running tests now, should know in a couple of hours. Isaac studied her face. Marcus Garrison is a bully and a coward. Do not let him intimidate you. He said his father does not tolerate disrespect. Then his father is in for a disappointment because I do not respect him or his threats. Isaac offered his arm. Come on, let us get back to the house. You look like you could use some coffee. They walked back together, Lily grateful for his solid presence beside her. Whatever happened next, at least she was not facing it alone. Thorne was waiting in the study when they returned, his spectacles perched on his forehead and a smile on his weathered face. Miss Brennan, you are going to want to sit down for this. She sat, her heart pounding. Isaac stood behind her chair, his hand resting lightly on the back. Your father was right, Thorne said. There is silver on your property, not just traces. Based on the samples I tested, you are sitting on a significant deposit. Could be worth $50,000 or more, maybe much more. The room seemed to tilt. 50,000, at least. I will need to do more extensive testing to be certain, but what I saw today is promising. Very promising. Thorne pulled out a sheaf of papers. I have documented everything, signed and dated. This establishes your discovery and claim. You need to file with the county land office first thing tomorrow morning. Garrison will try to stop her, Isaac said. He can try, but the law is on Miss Brennan's side. She owns the land. She made the discovery, or rather, her father did. Either way, she has the right to file a mining claim on her own property. Lily looked up at Isaac. If I file a claim, Garrison cannot foreclose. He can still call in the debt, Thorne said carefully, but the property value changes everything. You could get a loan from another bank using the mining claim as collateral, pay off Garrison entirely. There are no other banks in Coloma. No, but there are banks in Sacramento, in San Francisco, banks that would be very interested in financing a silver mining operation. Thorne tapped the papers. This changes everything, Miss Brennan. You are not a desperate woman anymore. You are a woman of means. The relief was so intense it made her dizzy. Isaac's hand squeezed her shoulder gently. We need to move fast, he said. Once Garrison finds out what we know, he will do everything he can to stop you. The land office opens at 8, Thorne said. I will ride with you to file the claim. Might help to have an official assayer present to confirm the findings. And I will come too, Isaac added. Just in case Garrison tries anything. Lily stood, suddenly filled with energy after days of despair. Then we leave at first light. Thomas can manage the ranch for a day. This is too important to delay. They spent the evening preparing. Thorne wrote up formal documentation of his findings, sealed and signed. Lily gathered her father's maps and journals, proof that he had suspected the silver deposit before his death. Isaac cleaned his rifle and pistol with the methodical care of a man who knew how to use both. Do you think Garrison will try to stop us? Lily asked, watching him work. I think Garrison is a man who sees something he wants and takes it, law be damned. But he is also a man who cares about appearances. He will not do anything too public. Isaac checked the cylinder of his revolver, then slid it back into his holster. Tomorrow we establish your claim legally. After that, he has no leverage, except $6,000 of debt, which you will be able to pay off once the mine is operational, or get a loan to cover it. Either way, you keep your ranch. He looked at her seriously. This is going to work, Lily. You are going to win. She wanted to believe him. Why do you care so much? You could have ridden on, found work somewhere else. Isaac was quiet for a long moment. I told you about my mother. What I did not tell you is that I was there when they took the ranch from her. I was 15 years old and I stood there watching while the bank auctioned everything. Our horses, our furniture, my father's tools, everything. And I did nothing because I was a boy and powerless. You were a child. It was not your fault. Maybe. But I swore that day that I would never be powerless again, and that if I ever had the chance to help someone fight back against men like that, I would. He met her eyes. You remind me of her, my mother. Same steel underneath. Same refusal to break even when everything is against you. So yes, I care. Because you deserve better than to be crushed by a man like Howard Garrison. Lily felt something shift inside her, something warm and dangerous and entirely unexpected. She barely knew this man, but he had already changed her life. Thank you, Isaac, for everything. Thank me when you have got your claim filed and Garrison off your back. But he smiled when he said it, and the smile made her heart beat faster. They left before dawn Monday morning, riding east as the sky lightened from black to gray to gold. Thorne rode his bay mare, Lily her chestnut Rosie, and Isaac his gray gelding. They covered the distance to Coloma in good time, reaching the land office just as the clerk was unlocking the door. The clerk, a thin man named Peters, looked surprised to see them. Miss Brennan, can I help you? I need to file a mining claim on my property. She handed him Thorne's documentation. Peters read through it slowly, his expression growing more concerned with each page. This is quite significant. You understand that filing this claim will require a survey, proper documentation. I have documentation. Mr. Thorne is a certified assayer. Everything is in order. Yes, but Mr. Garrison has no legal standing to prevent me from filing a claim on my own property, Thorne interrupted. I suggest you process the paperwork, Mr. Peters, unless you would like to explain to the territorial court why you refused a legitimate claim. Peters looked between them, clearly torn. I should speak with Mr. Garrison first. Why? Isaac's voice was quiet but carried an edge. Is he your employer? Or does the land office serve the citizens of this county? I am just saying this is unusual. What is unusual, Isaac continued, moving closer to the counter, is a clerk refusing to do his job. Now you can either process Miss Brennan's claim, or we can ride to Sacramento and file with the territorial office. And we will be sure to mention that the Coloma Land Office refused service for no legal reason. Peters swallowed hard. That will not be necessary. I will process the claim. He pulled out forms and began writing, his pen scratching across paper. There will be a filing fee, $5. Lily paid it from the emergency money she kept in her saddlebag. Peters finished the paperwork with obvious reluctance, stamping it with the official seal. Your claim is filed, Miss Brennan. Congratulations. They were leaving the land office when Howard Garrison appeared, moving fast up the sidewalk with Marcus trailing behind him. Miss Brennan, a word if you please. Lily stopped, turning to face him. Isaac and Thorne flanked her, their presence a silent support, Mr. Garrison. I understand you have filed a mining claim. His voice was tight with controlled anger. That is correct. On what grounds? That property is mortgaged to my bank. You have no right to make such a claim without my permission. Actually, she has every right, Thorne said. The mineral rights belong to the landowner. That is Miss Brennan. Your mortgage on the land does not extend to mining rights unless specifically stated otherwise in the contract. Who are you? William Thorne, assayer. The claim is legitimate and properly filed. He showed Garrison the documentation. There is silver on Miss Brennan's property, significant silver, which makes the property far more valuable than the $6,000 you claim she owes you. Garrison's face darkened. You had no right to survey my property, your property, Lily interrupted. It is my property, Mr. Garrison, my father's property, and I had every right to survey it just as I had every right to file a mining claim on my own land. This is outrageous. I will contest this claim. On what grounds? Isaac asked. You have no legal standing. I have a mortgage. That property is collateral for a debt, which Miss Brennan intends to pay in full. Thorne produced another document. I stopped by the Sacramento bank before we came here this morning. They are very interested in financing a silver mining operation. They have approved a loan to Miss Brennan sufficient to pay off her debt to you entirely. Here is their letter of commitment. It was a bluff, partially. Thorne had indeed stopped at the Sacramento bank, but the approval was not final yet. But Garrison did not know that. You cannot do this, Garrison said, but his voice lacked certainty now. It is already done. Lily kept her voice steady despite her racing heart. I will have your money within 2 weeks, Mr. Garrison. Our business arrangement is concluded. What about Marcus? You led him to believe. I led him to believe nothing. He assumed I would accept being blackmailed into marriage. He was wrong. She met Garrison's eyes. I will not be marrying your son. Not now, not ever. And if you attempt to interfere with my mining operation or spread lies about me in this town, I will bring suit against you for attempted extortion. Garrison stared at her, his face purple with rage. For a moment, Lily thought he might do something violent, but Isaac shifted beside her, his hand resting casually on his gun belt, and Garrison seemed to think better of it. "This is not over," Garrison said finally. "Yes, it is." Lily turned away from him, dismissing him. "Good day, Mr. Garrison." They walked to their horses, Lily's legs shaking so badly she barely managed to mount, but she did not look back, did not give Garrison the satisfaction of seeing her fear. They rode out of Coloma at a steady pace, not speaking until they were well out of town. Then Thorne let out a whoop. Did you see his face? Thought he might explode right there on Main Street. Even Lily had to laugh, the tension breaking. "I cannot believe that worked." "It worked because you stood your ground," Isaac said, "and because the law is on your side for once." "Will the Sacramento bank really approve the loan?" "They will when they see Thorne's full report and the survey data, but it might take a few weeks." Isaac glanced at her. "Can you hold off Garrison that long?" "I will have to, but at least now I have options." She felt lighter than she had in months, as if a crushing weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "I still cannot quite believe it. My father's hunch was right." "He knew what he was looking at," Thorne said. "That land of yours is going to be worth a fortune once word gets out. You will have mining companies wanting to buy you out, investors wanting in on the operation." "I am not selling. Did not think you would," Thorne smiled. "But you will need help running a mining operation. That is different from ranching." "I will learn." Lily looked at the mountains rising to the east, at the land her father had loved. "Whatever it takes." They reached the ranch by early afternoon. Thomas came out of the barn, reading their expressions. "Good news." "The best," Lily said, dismounting. "We have silver and the claim is filed." "Garrison can do nothing about it." Thomas grinned. "Hot damn, your father would have loved to see this." He did see it in a way, he knew. She handed Rosie's reins to Thomas. "I need to write some letters. Thorne, you are welcome to stay as long as you like." "Appreciate it, but I should get back to Sacramento tomorrow. I will write up a full report for the bank and send it over. Should help with the loan approval." He headed toward the house, leaving Lily and Isaac alone by the barn. "You did it," Isaac said quietly. "You stood up to him. We did it. I could not have managed this without you." She looked at him, this man who had ridden into her life less than a week ago and changed everything. "I do not know how to thank you." "You do not owe me thanks." "Yes, I do. You dropped everything to help me. You rode through the night, spent your money, faced down Garrison." She stepped closer. "Why did you really stay, Isaac? It was not just because of your mother." He was quiet, looking at her with those river-colored eyes. "At first it was. But then I met you, and I saw how you refused to break even when everything was stacked against you. And I thought—" He stopped, shook his head. "Never mind what I thought. Tell me." "I thought maybe I had been drifting for so long because I was looking for something. Someone. A place to stop running." He reached out, his hand cupping her cheek so gently she barely felt it. "I think maybe I found it." Lily's breath caught. She knew what was about to happen, wanted it with a fierceness that surprised her. When Isaac bent his head and kissed her, she rose up to meet him halfway. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, a question. Then deeper, turning into something that made her heart race and her knees weak. His arms came around her, holding her close, and she gripped his shirt to keep from falling. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Isaac rested his forehead against hers. "I have wanted to do that since the moment I saw you reading Garrison's letter with that look on your face like you wanted to set something on fire." She laughed breathlessly. "I did want to set something on fire, preferably Howard Garrison. Settling for destroying his plans is almost as good." Isaac pulled back slightly, his hand still on her waist. "Lily, I know I am just a drifter. I have no money, no property, no prospects. But if you would have me, I would like to stay. Work your ranch, help with the mine, be here for you. For the ranch. Her voice was teasing despite the emotion threatening to choke her. For you. His expression was serious now, vulnerable. I am falling in love with you, Lily Brennan. Probably already fallen. So if you tell me to go, tell me now, because staying is going to make leaving impossible. She had known him 5 days. It was madness to feel this way so fast. But everything about the past week had been madness, and here she stood, victorious because this man had believed in her when she had barely believed in herself. Do not go, she whispered. Stay, please stay. He kissed her again, and this time there was no hesitation, no uncertainty. Just rightness, like coming home. They stayed like that for a long moment, holding each other in the barn while the horses shifted and snorted around them. Finally, practical considerations intruded. I should see to Rosie, Lily said reluctantly, and I should help Thomas with the evening feeding. But Isaac stole one more kiss before releasing her. We will talk more tonight. Yes. She watched him walk toward the bunkhouse, something warm and bright blooming in her chest. For the first time since her father's death, she felt genuinely happy. That evening, after Thorne had retired and the ranch hands were settled, Lily and Isaac sat on the porch watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. The air had cooled, carrying the scent of grass and cattle. What happens now? Isaac asked. I wait for the loan approval, pay off Garrison. Start setting up the mining operation. She leaned against him, his arm around her shoulders, feeling natural. It will be expensive, complicated, probably take years before it is profitable. Good thing you are stubborn. Good thing I have help. She tilted her head to look at him. Did you mean what you said earlier, about staying? Every word, if you will have me. As what? A ranch hand, a mining partner, she paused. Something more. Isaac turned to face her fully. Lily, I am not good with fancy words. I have spent most of my life moving from place to place, never putting down roots. But I know what I feel when I look at you. I know that the thought of riding away from here, from you, makes something hurt in my chest. So yes, I want to be more. Whatever more you will allow. I want that too. She took his hand, threading her fingers through his. But I need you to understand something. This ranch, this land, it is my life, my father's legacy. I will not give it up or change who I am for any man. I would never ask you to. Your strength is what drew me to you in the first place. He squeezed her hand. I am not looking for a wife who will stay in the house and serve tea. I am looking for a partner. Someone who will stand beside me, not behind me. You are that person. Even though I come with debt and a dangerous mining venture and probably more enemies than I know about. Especially because of all that, life with you will never be boring, she laughed, then sobered. What about your plans? You were drifting for a reason. Are you ready to stop? I was drifting because I had nothing to stop for. Now I do. He brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles. I am ready, Lily, if you are. She thought about everything that had happened, how quickly her life had changed. 5 days ago she had been alone and terrified. Now she had hope, a future, and a man who looked at her like she was something precious. I am ready, she said. He kissed her under the stars, and it felt like a promise. The next weeks passed in a blur of activity. The Sacramento Bank approved the loan after reviewing Thorne's full report, though the amount was less than the full value of the claim. Lily had to negotiate, provide additional documentation, and agree to regular surveys of the mining operation. But finally, the money came through. Paying off Howard Garrison was one of the most satisfying moments of her life. She walked into his bank with Isaac beside her and placed a bank draft for $6,200 on his desk. This settles my father's debt in full, she said. I believe you have paperwork for me to sign. Garrison's expression was venomous, but he could do nothing. The debt was real, the payment legitimate. He produced the mortgage documents and marked them paid in full. "You have made an enemy today, Miss Brennan." "No, Mr. Garrison, I simply refuse to be your victim. There is a difference." She took the documents and left without looking back. Word of the silver claim spread quickly through Coloma and beyond. Mining companies sent representatives. Investors wrote letters. A few tried to pressure her into selling, but most recognized that Lily Brennan was not a woman easily moved. She hired a mining engineer from San Francisco, a gruff man named Chen, who knew silver deposits like some men knew scripture. He surveyed the property, confirmed Thorne's findings, and helped her plan the mining operation. "It will take time," Chen explained, spreading maps across her kitchen table. "You need to sink shafts, build infrastructure, hire miners, looking at 2 years minimum before you see significant returns. But it will be profitable. Very. This is a rich deposit. If managed properly, it could produce for 20 years or more." Isaac learned mining alongside Lily, the two of them working 16-hour days as summer turned to fall. They hired workers, negotiated contracts, dealt with supply problems and equipment failures. It was exhausting, frustrating work, but they faced it together. Through it all, Lily felt Isaac becoming part of her life in ways that went beyond work. He knew when she needed encouragement and when she needed space. He made her laugh when stress threatened to overwhelm her. He stood beside her when suppliers tried to cheat her or workers got difficult, backing her authority without undermining it. And in the quiet moments, stolen in early mornings or late evenings, they built something deeper. Long conversations on the porch, walks through the ranch land. Kisses that started gentle and turned hungry, leaving them both breathless. It was in October, with the leaves turning gold on the aspens and the first cold winds coming down from the mountains, that Isaac asked her to marry him. They were riding back from inspecting the mine site, tired and dusty. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Isaac pulled his horse to a stop on a rise overlooking the ranch. "This is beautiful land," he said. "It is." Lily drew up beside him, following his gaze. "I never get tired of this view. Neither do I." But when she looked at him, he was watching her, not the landscape. "Lily, I need to ask you something." Her heart started beating faster. "Yes." He dismounted and came to stand beside her horse, looking up at her with an expression so earnest it made her chest ache. "I know we have not been together long. A few months. Some people would say it is too fast, but I have never been more certain of anything in my life." He pulled something from his pocket, a ring, simple gold with a small diamond. "I love you, Lily Brennan. I love your strength and your stubbornness, and the way you refuse to back down from anything. I love how you look first thing in the morning with your hair a mess, and how you hum when you are working on accounts. I love that you can shoot better than most men and still cry over baby animals. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, building something together. Will you marry me?" Lily dismounted, her legs shaking. She took the ring from his hand, examining it. "Where did you get this?" "Sacramento, last time I went for supplies." "I have been carrying it around for 3 weeks, waiting for the right moment. This is the right moment." She slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "Yes, Isaac Morrison, I will marry you." He swept her up, spinning her around, both of them laughing. When he set her down, he kissed her with such joy that she felt it down to her bones. "How soon?" he asked against her lips. "How soon what? How soon can we get married? Because I have been sleeping in that bunkhouse for months now, being respectful, and it is killing me." She laughed, swatting his chest. "Soon, but we do this properly. I want a real wedding in the church with the whole town invited, even Garrison, especially Garrison. I want him to see exactly how well I am doing without his son." Isaac grinned. "You are a vengeful woman, Lily Brennan. You have no idea. She kissed him again. But yes, let us do this properly. And then no more separate sleeping arrangements. Agreed. They married on a cold, clear day in November 1878 in the small church at Coloma with seemingly the entire county in attendance. Lily wore a dress of deep green silk that her father's sister had sent from San Francisco, and Isaac wore a new suit that made him look handsomer than should be legal. Howard and Marcus Garrison were not invited, but most of the rest of the town came. Mrs. Miller wept happy tears. Thomas gave Lily away, his gruff voice cracking when he placed her hand in Isaac's. And when the minister pronounced them husband and wife, the kiss Isaac gave her made several of the older ladies fan themselves dramatically. The reception was held at the ranch, tables set up in the yard, food and drink flowing freely. As the sun set and lanterns were lit, Isaac pulled Lily into a dance, holding her close. "Happy?" he asked, deliriously. She rested her head on his shoulder. "Are you? More than I thought possible." He kissed the top of her head. "Thank you for saying yes, for taking a chance on a drifter with nothing to his name. You had something much more valuable than money. You had courage and integrity and the kindness to help someone in need." She looked up at him. "Besides, you are not a drifter anymore. You are my husband. Your husband." He tested the words, smiling. "I like the sound of that." They danced until the stars came out, surrounded by friends and good wishes. And later, when everyone had left and they were finally alone in the house that was now truly theirs, Isaac carried Lily over the threshold like she weighed nothing. "Welcome home, Mrs. Morrison," he said, setting her down gently. "It has always been my home, but now it is perfect." She reached up, pulling him down for a kiss that quickly turned into more. They made their way to the bedroom, helping each other out of wedding finery with hands that shook slightly from anticipation. And when Isaac laid her on the bed, covering her body with his, Lily felt complete in a way she never had before. "I love you," he whispered against her skin. "So much. I love you too." She pulled him closer, and the night stretched ahead full of promise and discovery and joy. The next years were not easy. Mining was hard, dangerous work, and there were setbacks. A shaft collapse in the first winter injured 2 workers, thankfully not fatally, but it set them back months and cost money they could barely spare. Equipment broke. A spring flood damaged some of the infrastructure, and there were always men who thought they could take advantage of a woman running a mining operation, no matter how capable. But Lily and Isaac faced it together. They rebuilt after the collapse, implementing better safety measures. They learned from mistakes, and when men tried to undermine Lily's authority, Isaac backed her completely while she proved herself through competence and determination. By 1880, the mine was profitable. Not wildly so yet, but enough to pay back the loan and put money aside for expansion. The ranch continued to operate, cattle bringing in steady income. They hired more workers, built new structures, became one of the more successful operations in the county, and through it all, their love deepened. Marriage was work, Lily discovered, but good work. There were arguments. She and Isaac both had strong opinions and stubborn streaks, but they learned to fight fair, to listen, to compromise when necessary and stand firm when it mattered. Isaac proved to be everything she had hoped for in a partner. He never tried to take over or diminish her role. When people addressed him as if he ran the operation, he quietly redirected credit to Lily. He supported her decisions, offered advice when asked, and respected her expertise. And Lily discovered that loving Isaac meant more than partnership. It meant having someone to share quiet mornings with over coffee, someone to celebrate victories and mourn defeats, someone whose touch could still make her heart race even after 2 years of marriage. In the spring of 1881, Lily discovered she was pregnant. She told Isaac one evening in April as they sat on the porch watching the sunset. "I have some news. Good news, I hope." He had been reviewing mining reports, but he set them aside, giving her his full attention. "I think so. I am fairly certain I am carrying our child." For a moment, Isaac just stared at her. Then a smile spread across his face, so bright and joyous that it made her eyes burn with happy tears. "Are you sure?" "As sure as I can be without a doctor's confirmation, but all the signs are there." He pulled her into his arms, holding her carefully as if she might break. "A baby, we are going to have a baby. Are you happy?" She already knew the answer but needed to hear him say it. Happy does not cover it. Ecstatic, terrified, all of it. He pulled back to look at her. "Are you happy?" "Yes, and also terrified," she laughed shakily. "I have no idea how to be a mother, and I have no idea how to be a father. We will figure it out together." He placed his hand on her still flat stomach. "A baby, our baby." They rode to Sacramento the next week, so Lily could see a doctor who confirmed what she already knew. The baby would arrive in early December, the doctor estimated. Lily immediately began worrying about all the things that could go wrong, but Isaac kept her grounded. "Women have been having babies since the dawn of time," he reminded her. "You are strong and healthy. Everything will be fine." "You do not know that." "No, but I choose to believe it, and so should you." As her pregnancy progressed, Lily reluctantly stepped back from some of the heavier mining work. She still oversaw operations, handled the business side, but left the physical labor to others. It chafed, not being able to do everything herself, but Isaac and Thomas picked up the slack. The baby came on a cold December night, 3 weeks early and in a hurry. The midwife barely arrived in time. Isaac paced outside the bedroom door, listening to Lily's cries and feeling utterly helpless. When the baby's wail finally filled the house, he nearly broke down the door getting inside. Lily lay exhausted on the bed, sweaty and pale but smiling, and in her arms was a tiny, wrinkled, perfect baby. "A boy," the midwife announced. "Healthy lungs on him, too." Isaac approached slowly, almost afraid to breathe. "Can I?" "Of course." Lily held out the baby. "Meet your son." He took the infant carefully, cradling the tiny body against his chest. The baby had stopped crying, staring up at him with unfocused blue eyes. "He is so small. He will grow." Lily watched them with an expression Isaac had never seen before, pure contentment. "What should we name him?" They had discussed names but never decided. Isaac looked at the baby, at this new life they had created, and thought of Lily's father who had loved this land and made everything possible. "James, after your father." Tears spilled down Lily's cheeks. "James?" "Yes, James Morrison." Isaac returned the baby to Lily's arms and sat on the edge of the bed, his arm around both of them. His family, his wife and son, everything he never knew he wanted, all right here. "I love you," he told Lily. "Thank you for this, for everything." "I love you too." She leaned against him, exhausted but happy. "We did good, Isaac Morrison. We did excellent." Little James Morrison was a healthy, loud, demanding infant who kept his parents up half the night and filled the house with baby sounds. Lily discovered that motherhood came more naturally than she feared, though there were plenty of moments of panic and confusion. Isaac proved to be a devoted father, walking the floor with James when he was fussy, changing diapers without complaint, singing off key lullabies that somehow worked. The mine and ranch continued to thrive. Chen, the mining engineer, became a trusted friend. Thomas doted on baby James, carving him wooden toys. The ranch hands took turns playing with the baby during meals. Tough cowboys reduced to silly voices and funny faces to earn infant smiles. When James was 6 months old, Howard Garrison died suddenly of a heart attack. The news rippled through Coloma, and Lily felt surprisingly little. Not joy at his death, but not grief either. Just a sense of something finished. Marcus Garrison left town shortly after, moving to San Francisco. Lily never saw him again. The bank was sold to new owners who had no grudge against the Morrison family and were happy to continue doing business with such a successful operation. By 1883, the mine was one of the most productive in the county. They opened a second shaft, hired more workers, expanded operations. The ranch now had over 200 head of cattle. They had built a larger house, added a new barn, bought more land, and in August of that year, Lily gave birth to their second child, a daughter they named Catherine. She had Isaac's blue-green eyes and Lily's dark hair, and she was every bit as loud as her brother. 2 under 3, Isaac said, holding Catherine while James clung to his leg. Are we insane? Absolutely. Lily laughed, then winced. Childbirth had been easier the second time, but still exhausting. But happy insane, the best kind. Life settled into a rhythm. The children grew. The businesses prospered. Lily and Isaac worked side by side, partners in everything. They had disagreements about money, about the children, about mining operations, but they always worked through them. The love that had started so suddenly that August day in 1878 had deepened into something unshakable. In 1886, with James nearly 6 and Catherine 3, they had a third child, another boy they named Thomas after the ranch hand who had become family. Thomas Sr. wept when they told him, then tried to deny he was crying, claiming it was just dust in his eyes. No one believed him. The years passed. James grew into a serious, thoughtful boy who loved books and mathematics. Catherine was wild and fearless, more likely to be found in the barn with the horses than inside playing with dolls. Young Thomas was sweet-natured and curious about everything. Isaac's hair started showing gray at the temples. Lily found a few silver strands in her own dark hair. They were no longer the young couple who had defied Howard Garrison, but something better, partners who had built a life together through hard work and love. In 1890, they finally paid off the last of the bank loans. The mine and ranch were entirely theirs, free and clear. To celebrate, they threw a party that rivaled their wedding, inviting everyone who had helped them over the years. Chen was there, now more friend than employee. Thomas Sr., gray-haired and stooped but still sharp. Mrs. Miller from the general store. William Thorne, the assayer who had started it all, traveling from Sacramento for the occasion. Workers from the mine and ranch. Townspeople from Coloma. The house and yard were packed. As the sun set and music played, Isaac found Lily standing slightly apart, watching the celebration with a soft smile. Overwhelmed? He asked, slipping an arm around her waist. Grateful. She leaned into him. Do you ever think about that day you rode into Coloma? How different things could have been. Sometimes, if I had ridden a different direction, if you had sent me away, if Garrison had gotten what he wanted. I would have lost everything. The ranch, my freedom, maybe my life eventually. But you did not. You fought. You won. We won. She turned to face him. I could not have done it without you, Isaac. You know that, right? You saved me. No. He cupped her face gently. You saved yourself. I just helped a little. More than a little. She kissed him softly. You gave me hope when I had none. Stood beside me when I was alone. Loved me when I was difficult and stubborn and probably impossible. You are still difficult and stubborn. His eyes danced with humor. But never impossible. And I will love you until the day I die, and probably beyond that too. Good. Because I have no intention of letting you go. They rejoined the party, dancing together as they had on their wedding night 12 years earlier. Their children ran wild with the other kids. Thomas Sr. told increasingly embellished stories about the old days. Chen demonstrated some kind of card trick that had everyone laughing. Later, when the guests had left and the children were asleep, Lily and Isaac sat on their porch as they had 1,000 times before. The night was warm, stars bright overhead. "Do you ever miss it?" Lily asked. "Drifting, going wherever you wanted?" "No, this is where I want to be. Where I have always wanted to be, I just did not know it until I found you." Isaac took her hand, running his thumb over her knuckles. "Everything good in my life started the day I met you. The home, the family, the purpose. You gave me all of that. We gave it to each other. Fair enough." He kissed her hand. "Here is to many more years of difficult, stubborn, impossible love." Lily laughed. "I will drink to that." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the night. The land around them was theirs, hard-won and cherished. The mine would keep producing for years to come. The ranch would provide for their children and grandchildren. They had built something lasting, something meaningful. But more than the property or the money or the success, they had built a love that had weathered every storm. Started with a torn letter and a cowboy's defiance, grown through shared struggle and triumph, matured into something deeper than passion, true partnership. "Thank you," Lily said softly. "For what?" "For tearing up that letter. For refusing to let Garrison win. For choosing me." "You are welcome." Isaac pulled her close. "And thank you for letting me stay." They sat there until the moon rose high and the night grew cool, content in the life they had made together. Whatever challenges tomorrow brought, they would face them side by side as they always had. The Wild West was becoming tamed, the gold rush days giving way to a more settled California. But their story would endure a tale of courage, love, and two people who refused to let threats define their future. The cowboy had torn up the threat instead, and in doing so had given them both everything they needed, each other. The years continued to unfold with the steady rhythm of a life well lived. By 1895, James was approaching 14, tall and lean like his father but with his mother's serious eyes. He had shown an aptitude for the business side of their operations, spending hours poring over ledgers and contracts with Lily. She suspected he would go to university eventually, maybe study law or business, but for now he was content to learn everything he could about running the mine and ranch. Catherine, at 11, had become an accomplished rider and had no interest whatsoever in traditionally feminine pursuits. She wanted to work cattle, learn roping, understand mining operations. Isaac taught her everything she wanted to know, never once suggesting that any task was unsuitable for a girl. Lily watched them together and felt proud that her daughter would grow up knowing she could do anything. Young Thomas, now 8, was the dreamer of the family. He loved stories and nature, could spend hours watching birds or tracking animals through the hills. He wanted to know how things worked, why the sky was blue, what made rain. Isaac bought him books on science and natural history, encouraging his curiosity. The Morrison family had become one of the most respected in the region. Lily served on the town council, pushing for better schools and infrastructure. Isaac helped settle disputes between miners and ranchers, his reputation for fairness making him a trusted mediator. Together, they employed over 50 people between the mine and ranch, creating livelihoods that supported dozens of families. Thomas Sr. passed away peacefully in his sleep in the spring of 1897. He was buried on a hill overlooking the ranch he had helped build, and Lily stood at his graveside with tears streaming down her face. He had been like family, the connection to her father that kept that memory alive. Isaac held her as she grieved, and their children laid wildflowers on the grave. That same year, James left for university in San Francisco, having earned a scholarship based on his academic achievements. Lily cried when he departed, suddenly understanding how her own father must have felt watching her grow up too fast. But she was proud too, fiercely proud, of the thoughtful young man her son had become. Catherine, now 13, essentially ran the horse breeding program they had started a few years earlier. She had an instinct for matching bloodlines, for seeing potential in young horses. The Morrison horses were becoming known for their quality, and buyers came from as far as Oregon to purchase breeding stock. Young Thomas, 10 now, had developed an interest in geology. He spent hours collecting rock samples, studying mineral formations, learning about the earth beneath their feet. Chen took him under his wing, teaching him about mining geology, and Thomas became a fixture at the mine, asking questions and taking meticulous notes. In 1899, as the century drew to a close, Lily turned 43. Isaac was 48, his hair now more gray than dark, his face lined with years of sun and wind. But to Lily, he was still the handsome cowboy who had ridden into her life and changed everything. They were in bed one night, comfortable in the darkness, when Isaac asked, "Do you ever regret it? How everything turned out? Not for a single moment. Why do you ask? Just thinking about the choices we made, the risks we took. What if the silver had not been there? What if Garrison had won? But he did not win, and the silver was there, and we built this life together." She rolled to face him. "Are you having regrets?" "God, no, opposite. I am amazed at how lucky I got." His hand found hers in the dark. "I was a drifter with nothing. Now I have everything. A family, a home, a purpose. All because I saw a woman reading a letter who looked like she wanted to burn down the world." Lily laughed. "I did want to burn down the world, or at least Howard Garrison. Close enough." He pulled her against him. "I love you, Lily Morrison. More now than the day I married you, which I would have said was impossible. I love you too. Always will." They fell asleep tangled together as they had for over 20 years of marriage. The love that had started so fast, so unexpectedly, had proven to be the kind that lasted. In 1900, the new century arrived with celebration. The Morrisons hosted another party, this one looking forward rather than back. James came home from university for the holidays, now 18 and considering law school. Catherine, 15, had received a marriage proposal from the son of a neighboring rancher, which she turned down flat, declaring she had no intention of marrying anytime soon. Thomas, 12, had begun cataloging the plant and mineral species of their property, creating detailed journals that impressed visiting scientists. Isaac and Lily stood on their porch as the clock struck midnight, ringing in 1900. Around them, friends and family celebrated. Before them stretched the land they had fought for and won. "New century," Isaac said. "Think we will see much change, definitely. The world is changing fast. Automobiles, telephones, electricity." Lily leaned against him. "But some things stay the same: family, love, land." "The important things." Exactly. As they moved into the new century, life continued to evolve. The mine remained productive, though they began to plan for eventual depletion of the silver veins. Lily and Isaac diversified, investing in other ventures, ensuring their children's future would be secure even after the mine closed. In 1902, Catherine shocked no one by announcing she wanted to start a horse training business. She was 18, confident, and absolutely certain of her path. With her parents' support, she built a training facility on the ranch property and quickly gained a reputation as one of the best horse trainers in Northern California. James graduated from law school in 1904 and joined a prestigious San Francisco firm, though he came home often, maintaining close ties to his family and his roots. He had met a young woman in the city, a schoolteacher named Elizabeth, and brought her home to meet the family. Lily approved immediately of the smart, independent woman her son had chosen. Thomas, at 16, won a scholarship to study geology at the University of California. His detailed cataloging of the Morrison property had attracted attention from academic circles. He would be the scientist in the family, carrying on his curiosity into a career. In 1906, the San Francisco earthquake struck. James and Elizabeth survived unharmed, but the experience shook them. They decided to leave the city, moving back to the family ranch to help manage the business operations. Isaac, now 55 and feeling his years, was grateful for the help. The mine, as predicted, began to decline in productivity around 1908. But by then, the Morrison family had established multiple income streams. The ranch was profitable. Catherine's horse business thrived. They had investments in timber, in a mercantile business in Coloma, in real estate. The silver mine had provided the foundation, but they had built an empire beyond it. In the summer of 1910, with 3 grandchildren running around the property, James and Elizabeth's 2 sons and Catherine's daughter from a surprise late marriage to a fellow horse trainer, Lily and Isaac, celebrated their 32nd wedding anniversary. They took a rare day off, riding up into the hills above the ranch to a spot they had discovered early in their marriage. From here, they could see their entire property spread below. The ranch buildings, the mine, Catherine's training facility, the fields and pastures. 32 years, Lily said, sitting with her back against an oak tree. Sometimes it feels like 32 days, other times like a lifetime. Both, I think. Isaac sat beside her, joints protesting more than they once had. We have lived a full life, you and I. No regrets. None. You. Only that I did not meet you sooner. She took his hand, their fingers intertwining automatically. Though I suppose the timing was perfect. We got each other when we needed each other most. That letter. Isaac shook his head. Garrison's threat seems like something from another life now. It was another life. We were different people. Were we? I think we were always who we are. We just had not found each other yet. Lily considered this. Maybe you are right. I was always going to fight. You were always going to help. We just needed to collide at the right moment. Some collision. Isaac grinned. Changed both our lives, for the better. Absolutely for the better. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the afternoon light shift across the land. 32 years of marriage had given them this, the ability to be together without needing words, to share space and thoughts in perfect understanding. I am getting old, Isaac said eventually. We both are. Does not feel like it most days. Then I try to mount a horse and my back reminds me. He laughed ruefully. Never thought I would live to be 59. Figured I would die young, some dusty trail somewhere. I am glad you did not. So am I. He turned to her. Lily, if something happens to me, no, we are not having this conversation. We should. I want to know you will be taken care of, Isaac Morrison. You are the most annoying man alive. I will be fine. We have money, property, children who can help. I managed before I met you, and I could manage again if I had to. She softened. But I would really prefer not to have to. I am not planning on going anywhere soon, just want to make sure. I know. She squeezed his hand. And I appreciate it, but let us not borrow trouble. We are here now, healthy enough, happy. That is what matters. They rode back to the ranch as the sun set, arriving to find controlled chaos. The grandchildren were playing some elaborate game involving stick horses and a lot of yelling. Catherine was working a horse in the round pen, calling instructions to a client. James and Elizabeth were on the porch going over accounts. Thomas was home for the summer from university, holding forth about some geological discovery. This was their legacy, Lily realized, not just the mine or the ranch or the money. But this family, laughter, purposeful work, love that extended across generations. That night, lying in bed with Isaac's arm around her, Lily thought about the frightened woman who had received Garrison's letter 32 years ago. She barely recognized that person anymore. That Lily had been alone and desperate and afraid. This Lily was none of those things. She was strong, successful, surrounded by family and love. She had faced down threats and built an empire. She had raised children who were making their own marks on the world. She had loved a good man for over 3 decades and been loved in return. "Thank you," she whispered into the darkness. Isaac stirred. "For what?" "For tearing up that letter. For staying, for loving me, for building this life with me. Best decision I ever made." He kissed the top of her head. "Love you, Lily Morrison. Love you too, Isaac Morrison, forever." They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other and in the comfort of a love that had proven itself over and over through the years. The threats that had once seemed insurmountable were dust. The cowboy who had torn up those threats had become so much more husband, father, grandfather, partner in every sense. And the woman who had been told she had no choices had proven that there were always choices, always ways to fight back, always hope as long as you refuse to surrender. Their story, born in the Wild West of 1878, would endure through their children and grandchildren, a tale of courage and love and the power of standing together against any threat. The rancher's son had wanted to take everything. The cowboy had given everything instead. And in the giving, they had both found everything they needed. The years ahead would bring more challenges, more changes as the world modernized and the Wild West became history. But the Morrison family, built on the foundation of that August day in 1878, would weather it all. Because some loves, some partnerships, were strong enough to last generations. And it all started with a torn letter and a cowboy's defiance, proving that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to accept what someone else claims is inevitable. Lily and Isaac had refused, had fought, had won. And in winning, they had built something more precious than silver, more valuable than land. They had built a love story for the ages. And they had lived happily ever after in the very best sense, not because life was easy or perfect, but because they faced it together, always together, until the very end.